Good day, viewers, and welcome to another OnSide SA soccer show. Paul is still away, so joining me in the studio as normal is our regular super sub and Manning Rangers League winner, Gavin Radford. Gav?
Morning, Batch. Good to be here again. Another week of soccer ahead of us.
Yeah.
Some good results on the weekend, so let's see how it goes this week.
Yeah, this is bragging rights this week for us Man United, Liverpool fans, and obviously in his Fulham studio will be our regular UK correspondent, Stevie Bram, who will no doubt be petrified of the League Cup draw. Anyway, we kick off as always with our post-net last one standing, and we continue to get the favourites soaring through. 677 entries went through and 629 were successful. The guys that went through were on Man City, Tottenham, Liverpool, Fulham, Chelsea, Arsenal, Brighton, West Ham and Forest. And the unfortunate souls were on Newcastle, Crystal Palace, Southampton, unfortunately Man United, Aston Villa and Leicester. As always, our picks of the round are based on the betting odds, and there were three of the guys. Two were on West Ham, Laura Dalcho and Sean Cliff, while Grant Taylor was on Nottingham Forest. Well done, guys. Always a mention goes to several people, and this round is going to be our post-net, guys, headed by boss man Chris Wheeler, Matthew Dorigo, Alfie Dorigo, Philip Goldberg, Mark Oliver, Anthony Pollack, David Wheeler, Yakub Khan, Yvonne and Melissa Borensa, and Lance Whiteford and Julie Usher. Thank you also go to our internationals that entered, starting with Gary Spencer, Brendan Smith, Greg Badenhorst, Eric Narak, Francois Dumy, Catherine Armstrong, Pauline and Colin Young, Matlock, Janice Lafferty, Holly Lafferty, Amy Herbert Lafferty, Alex Jarrett, Laura Dalcho, Jason Dunbar, Gary Grant in Portugal, Steve Griffiths, Kelly Potts, Denver for Mark, Neil Horsman, Arkin Dakota Horsman, Andrew, Cindy and Santo Rodell in Texas, Ken Moby, Roger Scott, Mark and Julie Abood, Derek Ramsey, Nigel Swinbank, Russell Bryant in Australia, Charlie Pigram, Calvin and Tony Cass, Phil Giles, Justin Grant, Phil and Rita Weston, Mark Shaw, Stevie Braham, Steve Potter, Kevin Power, Ian and Stephen Byrne, Harold Rankin and Brendan Miller. Guys, thanks as always. Just remember, get your picks 12:30 on Saturday, South African time, please. Steve, third round of the League Cup, Preston Fulham. What a draw.
Yeah, it's a shame it wasn't at the Cottage. But as you say, if you're back in the UK, you'll get to see it. But I won't be. I won't be travelling up to the northwest on a cold Tuesday night.
What a nice warm evening in Preston, Steve. Will guaranteed be bucketing. I said the only problem that I've got, as if you've mentioned, is it is going to be split over 2 weeks with the teams in the Champions League, Europa League and Europa Conference League. They play the following week, so they will obviously have to play that on the week that I'm there. I'm just hoping that Preston Fulham is the week of the 17th or 18th. Stevie spoke earlier. I think it's a disgrace how they favour these teams in Europe. You know, it's a League Cup. Yeah. They all play their second teams or squad teams anyway. You know, what do you think?
Well, first of all, obviously they get a bye from the second round, and then for the first time ever, they basically kept the 6 teams in Europe apart, and 4 of them have been given home draws, which it's almost like a shoo-in for some of them until they get to round 4. Yeah. It just seems unfair. I mean, as I was reading, in the last 10 years or so, no team outside of the top 6 has won the Carabao, because when it gets to it, that they get closer to the final, they start playing their strongest team. Yeah. So it is, especially now. Obviously, years ago they used to be over 2 legs earlier on, and it gave a smaller team, let's say, the opportunity. But in a one-off, it's and if a big team is drawn at home, as you say, you've got Man United, Barnsley, Chelsea, Barrow. Well, obviously they're not in Europe, but you just sort of think it's a little bit unfair. But it is what it is, and you've got to beat these teams if you want to go through. And looking forward to. I'm not sure whether we'll get on TV, but it would be nice if it was the Preston Fulham game.
Yeah, you won't believe this, Steve, but the only thing I can remember of Barnsley, growing up, there was a 1964, and my dad was playing there. They drew Man United in the FA Cup. They got beat 4-0. We were walking around with the market, my brother Ian and I was 4, he was 3. And they did quite well. They got beat 4-0. I remember speaking to my dad about it. And the George Best and Bobby Charlton, Paddy Curran, they all played. He said, they played on a mud heap. He said, you just could not believe how good those guys really were. And he still talks, but every time I see him, he'll be over the moon that Barnsley have drawn Man United. The good thing about it for them is they'll make a lot of money. And I think that's the only thing you can say about it, Steve. Those 7 teams have drawn. If you're a smaller club going away from home, at least you're guaranteed to make a couple of million. But
yeah, absolutely.
I totally agree with you. It's a disgrace what they're doing to try and favour the European club, especially as they're going to rotate their teams anyway. Anyway, what can we do? Steve, only one team got knocked out from the Premiership. That was Ipswich. They lost on penalties, I see.
Yes, they lost to AFC Wimbledon. So, I mean, they rotated a bit, but it was a great result for Wimbledon. And they showed the penalties on Sky, and they did. I'm pleased for them. And now Wimbledon have got a home draw against Newcastle.
Yeah, that was
so big game for them, and they'll make a bit of money. It may well be on TV, so it's good for them.
Yeah, unfortunately, Gav, we never had any of the games. I was hoping 1 or 2 of them would have been on.
Yeah, I was hoping to hit some type of football on the week, but nothing came through for us. We'll just have to wait and see. Maybe in the next round where the bigger clubs come into it, and then we get maybe 1 or 2 games.
Oh, no doubt about that. Anyway, on to the weekend's football, and Arsenal. The supporters are cock-a-hoop at the moment. 1-3 at home to beat Brighton. Steve, are they good things?
Yeah, I think so. But I think Brighton will certainly give them a good game. I mean, they looked had a good win at Everton, as we know, and then looked good in patches against United. I think that, but Arsenal's defence, are a different kettle of fish than United's or Everton's. And I think that, however pacey sort of Brighton are up front, I think Arsenal have got the ammunition to see them off. I think it'll be a good game. I think these are the sort of games that Arsenal have got to win. They want to keep pace with City. They've got to beat teams like Brighton, who I think are going to have a decent season. Not being in Europe, they haven't got that distraction. Disappointing for them. Matt O'Reilly made his debut and was the subject to a shocking challenge in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he could be out for a while. So very, very disappointing for them. So no, I think Arsenal definitely clear favourites, but I think it should be a good game.
Gav.
Yeah, I agree with Steve. I think Arsenal back 4 very tight, but they give nothing away at home. And that reason why Arsenal winning 90% and more of their home games, they will win this game. And they'll win it maybe 2-0, I think.
Yeah, I went Arsenal has scored both halves at a shade under even money. Hard to find value at a 1-3 shot, but impressed with Arsenal against Aston Villa, even though they did get out of jail with those 2 Watkins misses, but Arsenal should be at every multiple. Brentford, Southampton, Steve. Good chance for Brentford?
Well, I think it is. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the next 2 days before the window shuts with Ivan Toney. There's a lot of talk that he will go, but there aren't. It looks like the only English team that might come in for him, unless it's something at the last minute, are Chelsea. Yeah. He's been offered a huge amount of money for Saudi, but whether or not he just wants to go for the money or he wants to stay in the Premier League, that's up to him. But they're saying that if he doesn't go, they might sell Wissa, because they've spent a lot of money, Brentford, and in the past they like to recoup. Southampton, I think that for me, I still think that they're going to struggle a bit this year. So I think this is Brentford's opportunity to get another win on under the belts.
Gav, how do you see it?
Yeah, I made Brentford a good bet this weekend, Budge. I think Southampton are really struggling. They're finding the pace of the game a little bit too quick for them at the moment. That little bit of luck that you need just going against them. Brentford, Ivan Toney up front, always causing problems for you. I think Brentford too good at home.
Yeah, 8-10 does look a good price. Let's say Southampton should have got something against the Newcastle game, but disappointing at home. But when they lost to, was it Notts Forest, I think it was. But yeah. Great chance for Brentford. They were, in my opinion, a little bit disappointing against Liverpool, although they sat back too much. But at home on that tight pitch. 8 to 10 is definitely worth a bet. Everton, Bournemouth, Steve. You know, Pickford sold their jerseys, but I went for a beer at the Bush Tavern in Shloty on Tuesday. My mate Jeff Ward, staunch Evertonian, he said they should have been 3-0 down before Tottenham got their first. You know, he's worried this year, Steve, but I've got a funny feeling they're going to bounce back here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they had a good win sort of midweek in the Carabao Cup, sort of give them a bit of confidence. But, you know, this is a tricky game. Bournemouth are not a bad side. They picked up a couple of points so far from games that they could have got more in. But I think you're right. If Everton are going to sort of start to show, this is the sort of game they need to show a little bit more form. I think Sean Dyche is pretty disappointed with the fact that they've conceded so many goals in their first two games, when last year, although they weren't doing well, but the defence was tight. I think this could be a very close game. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Everton maybe pinch something. But if they don't, then it could be a long, hard season for them.
Gav?
But games like this is going to determine at the end of the season if you survive or not. If Everton don't pick up home points against Bournemouth, they're going to be in that relegation zone come end of the year. It's one of those games where it can go either way, chance here or there. I'm leaning towards a draw here. I think Everton are struggling to score. Bournemouth will try and take a point and they'll be happy with the points. A draw for me, I think that's the right result. I think the betting is saying that as well.
Yeah, I think this is going to be decided by set pieces. The only way Everton do score majority of their goals is via set pieces, so that's going to be in their hand. But Bournemouth can play. A little bit unlucky against Newcastle, but away from home, you never know. But I agree with Gav. I think this has got draw written all over it. 1-1, 20, I think it was 7-8 to 1, but the draw definitely looks the right play. Ipswich Town, Fulham, Steve, are you confident?
I'm not sure how confident. It's going to be an interesting one. Ipswich are going to have a few of their newer players in the team, I'm sure. And I think, for me, it's about weathering the storm. I think Ipswich will throw everything at us like they did against Liverpool or even City in those first opening minutes. I think if we can weather that storm, I think that we've got the quality to wear them down. And I'd be disappointed not to come away with a win. But, there's going to be it's a sellout crowd. It'll be a great atmosphere, and I think that Ipswich are going to be desperate to get something. And I think if we can hold out in that opening sort of 30 minutes, I think that we could win it.
Gav?
Yeah, I made Fulham the best bet of the week last week, Budge, and I think that they came through for us nicely. I think I'll make them again a very good bet this week. I think Ipswich are competitive. They fight for everything in the middle of the park. They're trying to have a go. I think Fulham with a little bit more experience, I think they will catch them. I think Fulham a good bit of 13 to 10 once again this week.
Yeah, I'd be wary of this one, Steve. Simple reason. Ipswich come up, they played Liverpool, Man City, so all that cock-a-hoop, spirit they had, they got put in their place. But I thought they played quite well in both games in certain patches against them, and they're going to come out the first 30 minutes, Steve. I think this has got 2-2, 3-2, 4-2 written all over it. I went for Ipswich to score over 1.5 goals at 14 to 10. I think the bet of the day is even money, over 2.5 goals, and both teams to score, yes. Fulham have a go, you guys can score. Ipswich are capable at home, and they only lost one of their, 23 league games last year at home, so that was to Leeds. And if they're going to have to get out of it, or should I say, save relegation, these are the games they've got to get a result in. And I think this is going to be humdinger. If I don't watch it, I'll be definitely taping and watching it on the Monday. I think goals galore, Steve. Either way, it wouldn't surprise me, but definitely goals galore in this particular game. Leicester, Aston Villa, 8 to 10. Aston Villa, Steve. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if Ollie Watkins has got his shooting boots back on, having watched Leicester last week at Fulham, they were a little bit fortunate, Leicester, not to be sort of 3 down after about sort of 20 minutes. And I think if Villa sort of a bit more clinical than we were against Arsenal, I think that they'll win. So for me, I think 8 to 10 is probably not an unreasonable bet.
Nice. Gav?
Yeah, we don't generally go for away teams that often, but Aston Villa looked like a good bet this weekend. Ollie Watkins, I think he must have had nightmares that night. So I think he had 2 glorious chances to score and put that game to bed. Would have put Arsenal under some real pressure. But that happens in football when you're playing. And this week, I think Aston Villa a very good bet at 8 to 10. Very good side.
Totally agree. Good things. 16 to 10, Aston Villa to win an over 2.5 goals. And I saw Aston Villa to win by more than one. I think it was 19 to 10. They have all my money this week. I was really impressed. No midweek game in the League Cup where Leicester were involved. Haven't been impressed with Leicester. I thought Fulham should have stuck 2 or 3, and then they gave a goal away, which gave them impetus to fight on. But Aston Villa, absolute certainties bar a red card. On to our second page, and this is going to be a desperate game. If ever you want to have a bet on bookings and a red card, this is it. Notts Forest Wolves, Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's Wolves have had a pretty poor start. I mean, that was a fairly humbling second half against Chelsea. They really didn't compete once Chelsea went ahead again. Forest, I watched the Forest Newcastle game last night. You know, very good game end to end. I think Forest were a little bit disappointed. Their penalties were shocking, but I think this is an opportunity for Forest to get a home win on the board, following on from that win last week. Wolves, you know, I think they're desperate to bring 1 or 2 more players in, and I think if they don't, I think they're going to have a difficult season this year.
Yeah, how do you see it, Gav?
Yeah, I think Wolves, they just threw in the towel last week. They got themselves back into the game just before half-time to go 2-2. And then once they went behind again in the second half, they just kind of like gave up, and it didn't seem like they had any fight left in them, and they just, you know, the result was the result. Forest, on the other hand, they always score, so they're taking them back to their ground. Forest, I think, will come out fighting. I think I'm leaning towards Forest to win this game. I think it's difficult to beat them on their home patch. Wolves, for me, I didn't like the performance second half, and I think it'll continue with them.
I actually was impressed first half. And when you look at the game, everything that could have gone right for Chelsea went right. You know, Wolves' goal disallowed, they hit the bar. I was impressed with what I saw. I know Chelsea, they won going away, but the last 20 minutes, it was 2-2, and then they went for it and got caught. You know, one thing about Chelsea, they do score goals. Notts Forest, I'm just worried about. You know, I think this could be a draw, but this could go either way for me. That's why I'm siding with the bookings. This is going to be a physical battle. And I think, is he a Norwegian or is a Scandinavian up front for Wolves? The big strong boy. I like the look of him, but any result wouldn't surprise me here. Our next game is West Ham Man City. Steve, West Ham has started well in my opinion. Can they upset Man City?
Well, I think they're capable of holding them if they don't concede. Don't concede more than sort of 1. But I think, having watched, City the first couple of games, Haaland's on fire. They're getting their players back. Rodri was back. I think that City will probably go there and get a result. I think they'll give them a good game. West Ham obviously have got quite a few new players and they're still betting in. They had a good win last week at Palace, but I think that City, for me, probably too strong.
Gav?
Yeah, the City engine is just starting to warm up again, Budge. They're getting their players back. Their midfield is just firing away. Haaland scoring goals. He's getting the passes that he wants. He's not playing too much tic-tac around the box. Haaland, phenomenal form early in the season. West Ham will compete since their home patch, but on a nice big field like that they do have, I think City will open the spaces up and score.
Yeah, Man City to win, both teams to score, 16-10. That's my suggestion. Yeah, agree with Gavin. Now they've got Gundogan back. Little bit more experience and intelligence, but I think City will struggle once the Champions League starts. They play 8 group games now, not like it was where you won your first 3 and you could cruise through. I think this will be a hard game. West Ham are a dangerous side, but the way Man City are looking, hard to go against them. Chelsea Crystal Palace, Steve. Every Chelsea mate of mine, all of a sudden 6-2, we're going to finish in the top 4. I've got my doubts about that, but 6-10 against Palace, Steve.
Yeah, I think so. It's I think more about the fact that sort of Palace are having just sort of sold a couple of good players. They're still trying to bring players in.
Yeah.
We don't know if Newcastle will come back with an even bigger bid for Gay in the next 2 days. But as you say, with Chelsea, it was a big win, but it was against a Wolves side that Gavin said sort of seemed to throw in the towel. I think Chelsea will be favourites, but again, what's his best 11? I mean, what's his best 25? They've still got best part of about 10 players to shift. And they're still trying to bring players in. It's just one of the pundits I saw on the telly this morning was saying, why are players going there? They're not going to guarantee them a place. So I just think though that it could still be a crazy season for them, but I think they'll be too strong on Sunday.
Yeah, one thing is guaranteed with Chelsea are goals, and it's over 2.5 goals at 6-10. I like over 3.5 goals at 13-10. they have a go, they can't defend, and that game against Wolves last week could have ended up 8-5. So goals for me. I just worry about Crystal Palace. They're starting to lose a couple of players, and I don't know how the spirit in the change room is. So with Chelsea cock-a-hoop, you've got to think that they'll win. Big game, Steve. 2 games on Sunday, although that was a Chelsea game. But Newcastle, Tottenham, Steve. This is a big one.
Yeah, very much so. You know, it'd be interesting to see if Tottenham can carry on the way they sort of played last Saturday. Obviously, they started well last season and then fell away a little bit. And, you know, on the other hand, Newcastle not been overly convincing in either of their games, but, you know, Newcastle have done well against Tottenham in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
For me, I've got this as a sort of as a score draw. I can see something like 2-2.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be an entertaining game. I think there'll be goals. And, you know, but Tottenham, you know, with their new signings, I think they're going to look at this and think, look, these are the sort of games they've got to go and get a result if they want to finish in the top 4.
Yeah, no doubt. Gav, how do you see it?
Yeah, it's a tough game, Budge. I think Spurs showed a bit of their colours that they played last week. They played some nice football. Newcastle battling, haven't fired yet. They seem to be stuttering, missing a cog at the moment. I'm leaning towards Spurs to win this one. I'm not a big Spurs fan, but I think they've just shown enough to go to Newcastle and get a result. Look, the crowd's going to play a big part.
Yeah,
they're going to blow the house down, if you put it that way. But I think Spurs, a little bit of flair that they have. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a red card in this game. Because
fiery,
that's how a game it's going to be. But I'm leaning towards Spurs to win this one.
Yeah, hard to trust Spurs away from home. They were impressive last week, but everything went right for them. They got 2 goals, second and third. I thought Pickford was woeful for the second, while he should have come for the third. Newcastle, Tonali's back. I see he played last night, and I like him. They'll be fired up. This is a big game. If Newcastle got beat last night, I think the fans would have been going off their head. But Tottenham at home, we all remember last year, I think it was 3-0 in 20 minutes. The Spurs fans were leaving at half-time. Any results possible here? Yeah, it's hard to go against Newcastle at home, even though Tottenham, you know, had a good start. I just don't trust them this time. So for me, I'd rather take the easy way and go the goal route. Biggest game in England, as always, Man United, Liverpool. Steve, what do you think?
Well, look, I mean, if you look at the way both teams have performed in their first 2 games, you know, you would hard to bet against Liverpool. But this is a game where United often throw the form book out the window, and they certainly did in the last season. And I think that they need that. You know, if they defend as bad as they did against Brighton, then I think Liverpool will score 2 or 3. So he's just got to find a way for them to be United to be more consistent and a bit more clinical. But I think, you know, again, based on the performances so far this year, it's hard to bet against Liverpool, I'm afraid.
Gav?
Yeah, I was watching Paul Scholes' interviews yesterday on TV, and he said, if you can't get up for a game like this against Liverpool, then you shouldn't be playing football. And he's right. So, I mean, Man United, Liverpool, they don't come much bigger than this. I think the price at 28-10 for United to beat Liverpool at home is a huge price. It's very inviting if you want to ever go.
Yeah.
We do more than often beat Liverpool, but, you know, the league table always tells they're ahead of us in the last couple of years. Tough game to call, but as a Man United fan, I'm going to go with United.
Yeah, I just don't trust Ten Hag. And that's last week what he did against Brighton was disgraceful for me. You know, all my mates said keep him on. I said he should have gone last year. We shouldn't have beat Coventry in the semi-final of the Cup, 3-0 up, an inch from going out. I watched it last week. He took every striker off. He takes Bruno off in the 89th minute, brings McTominay on, and McTominay gets sold to Napoli the next day. Now, if Bruno's going to come off, take him off in the 70th minute, give the guy coming on a chance. For me, Ten Hag is lost, but he's always had this knack of getting out of jail. I was fortunate to be at the Cup game last year at Old Trafford. United won 4-3. Liverpool should have been 3-4-1 up at one stage. Bang, 2-2. Should have won it with Rashford. Ended up squeaking through. If United get beat this week, and I think they will, this has David Moyes written all over it. I remember the year Liverpool should have won the league. They beat United 3-0 at Old Trafford, even though they got 3 penalties, and the fans went berserk. I've got a funny feeling Liverpool will win this and Ten Hag's going to be in trouble. Hopefully I'm wrong. I've got no confidence, even though we should have beat Brighton last week. Garnacho, the goal he should have scored, how he missed. But I just don't know what Ten Hag's doing, playing Mount and Bruno as our strikers. Maybe he'll change it. He's got to start Garnacho, but I don't trust the management. Anyway, let's hope I'm totally wrong. On to the Championship, Steve. I can't believe my boys Preston back on a roll with a new manager. But Friday night, London derby, Luton, QPR. How do you see it?
Well, interesting, because obviously they played each other in the
League Cup,
League. And although I understand Luton were on top, but they QPR beat them on penalties convincingly. So, I think Luton are going to want to look to try and get revenge. QPR have sort of pulled themselves up a little bit after that disappointing home defeat. I think this will be a close game, but Luton have got to find a win from somewhere. Otherwise, they after that sort of amazing couple of seasons they've had, it could all start to fall apart from them. And I think they're losing one or two players, and there's still one or two might well go. So it'd be disappointing if all their effort 2 years ago going up counts for nothing. So for me, I think Luton, but a close game.
Yeah, they were unlucky last week when they lost 1-0 at Preston. What worries me about these teams that come down is they're used to the Premiership style, nice and slow, tactical, nice pitches. Now you're back in the Championship, lesser quality opponent, but they work hard. And that's, I think, been Luton's problem. The only game at home, they got destroyed by Burnley. Another tight game. Of the two teams, you've got to fancy Luton, but the draw at 27-10 definitely looks the way to go for me. Burnley-Blackburn. I didn't realise how bitter this rivalry was until I spoke to a couple of Blackburn fans. I fancy Burnley all day here, Steve. Do you agree?
Yeah, although they've lost one or two. They had a bad result last week. But as you say, it really is a pretty bitter rivalry. They're not not many miles apart, and there's absolutely no love lost between them. Blackburn have had a decent start, 2 wins and a draw. Although they have lost Sammy Schmodix, but that'll obviously, I think, hurt them as the season goes on. I think Burnley will be favourites, but having sort of sold one or two, and I think there's still at least another one could be going. I think they need to balance their books a bit. I think this will be a closer game, but maybe Burnley might just edge it. Yeah,
I just think Sammy Schmodix is lost, and Burnley's desire at home. There's one thing the fans don't want to see. It's a loss to your bitter rivals. But I went Burnley to win, both teams to score at 5-2. Cardiff City against Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough got thrashed 5-0 at home by Stoke. I'm sure Michael Carrick wasn't too happy. Can they rebound against Cardiff?
I think they can. Very surprisingly. I mean, look, they got to the semi-finals last year. And yet he rotated. He rested quite a few of their big names. Maybe he thought that as it was another Championship team, they do okay, but they were well beaten in the end. I think he'll be really disappointed. Cardiff had a really great game last night. They lost 3-5 at home to Southampton, 2 very late goals, but gave a good account of themselves, and by all accounts finished strongly at Swansea. So I think this is going to be a close game. I wouldn't be surprised. Middlesbrough are favourites, but I wouldn't be surprised if Cardiff hold them. Yeah, I'd go the goals route. Actually, watch that game against the Swansea, Steve. The last bit, they were fired up and they were flying in. The referee, because I went for the booking route, the referee sat on the fence the whole game. But they fought hard. Swansea should have been 2 or 3-0 up, but they fought hard. And at home, they're the set-piece kings, and it won't be easy for Middlesbrough. But draw Middlesbrough for me there. Coventry, Norwich. Steve, this should be a good game. Should be plenty of goals. How do you see it go? Yeah, I think so. I mean, Coventry, they've stuttered a little bit. They've obviously won their home game. Norwich, been a little bit disappointing. Yeah. But I still think they've got the quality to finish higher up the table. And I just got a feeling that they might just edge this one away from home. You fancy them at home, but don't get beat at Carrow Road. You just never know with Coventry. They had that great cup run. They should have got to the final, and a little bit unlucky against United. But I'll take the easy route and go the goals. There's over 2.5 goals in that game. Derby, Bristol City, Steve. Derby, they're stuck lot, but I know at home they've got a good record, but away from home they better improve, otherwise they're going to be in trouble. Yeah, they were sort of beaten in the end at sort of Watford last week. Bristol City, as we know, are sort of a reasonable side. I think this is going to be a very close game. As you say, Derby need to sort of win their home games, I think, to stay out of trouble. But I think Bristol City are going to make it hard for them. I wouldn't be at all surprised if they cancel each other out. Or if there was to be a winner, I wouldn't bet against Bristol City. Yeah, I totally agree on that. Leeds, poor start, but they got back to winning ways in the Yorkshire Derby at Sheffield Wednesday. Do you expect them to beat Hull? I think they should. They were deserved winners last Friday night at Sheffield Wednesday, and I think that they will. I'd be surprised. I mean, Hull are a hard side to beat, and I think it'll be a close game. But I think Leeds are going to definitely want to sort of get a home win, and I think that they should edge this.
Yeah, score a lot of goals, Leeds, and expect them to win comfortably. Millwall, Sheffield Wednesday. Millwall, poor start, Steve. Do you expect them to get back to winning ways there?
I think it's interesting because I tipped them early on, and they've been very disappointing, and they lost midweek as well. Yeah. The other day at home to Leyton Orient. Sheffield Wednesday, you're not sure what you're going to get from them. They had that amazing first day win, and since then in the league disappointing. Yet they scored 5 away from home at Grimsby this week. Yeah. I think this would be a close game. I wouldn't be at all surprised. I think either could win it, but Millwall at home maybe just a bit too strong.
Yeah, that's what I think. 13-10 Millwall could be worth an interest. Can my boys Preston continue our winning run?
I think you're capable of doing it, although obviously don't travel quite as well. So decent odds though. If you put a couple of rand on, I think that I wouldn't put much more on though, in all honesty. But look, why not? I mean, they've broken the duck. They've had 2 wins this week. Yeah. And obviously a big away win in the Carabao, so maybe confidence is a bit high with the new manager.
Yeah, we'll take a big support. Take 1,500 there, but well, let's see. He'll try and keep it tight as normal, and hope Will King can do something. But I think 5-2 the draw is the best we can get. On to our final page, and Wayne Rooney's Plymouth struggling. Do you see them upsetting Stoke City?
Well, I'd be surprised. I mean, at home they are. They're a reasonable side. And they have one of the sort of best strikers in the Championship, Whittaker, who scored last week, although they were outplayed at QPR, but pinched the point. Yeah. But Stoke had a great win away. You're not sure what you're going to get from Stoke, but I think that might just be a little bit too strong. I think Wayne Rooney might be disappointed on Saturday night. Yeah, I see they're getting tighter and tighter, and they had 2 players sent off at QPR. Even though that point's a great result, but they don't win their home games, they're going to be in trouble. Portsmouth, Sunderland, Steve. Sunderland have had a good start. Can they continue it? Yeah, I think so. Look, I think there are goals in this game. Portsmouth had a good start themselves, but Sunderland had a very good start. There seems to be sort of a newfound confidence there, winning their games, not conceding, and I've got a feeling they might just edge that one. Yeah, they signed the Preston captain from last year on a free. Can't believe we let him go, and he's definitely started off well. Final 2 games we've got, Steve. West Brom, Swansea. How do you see it? Yeah, I mean, Swansea, we know, are a tidy side, but away they don't travel as well. And I think West Brom, who've had a decent start, I think West Brom should win this. They'll be a little bit too strong for them.
For me, absolute certainty is West Brom. Just watching Swansea, they're a nice footballing team, but West Brom at the Hawthorns, at tight pitch, I think West Brom will win comfortably. And last but not least, this should be a good game. On Sunday, Sheffield United against Watford. I can't believe the odds are that big.
Yeah, I think it will. And Watford have certainly started well. Having a very good season in the Championship. Obviously came unstuck during the week, but Sheffield United a little bit disappointing the last game. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Watford gets something out up there.
Yeah, I've got to agree with that. Sheffield United, I read the fans, they weren't happy. They got beaten midweek. And they threw away the draw with QPR, so a lot of trouble in the camp there. Steve, you've been on a roll. Who you won this week?
Yeah, I think this is a trickier one. I'm going to go for Sunderland as my best bet. I think they might just carry on the red and white juggernaut. And I think as a value bet, I might go for Norwich. I just think they're due a win, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if they get one. Yeah,
always good with a value, going for teams that score a lot of goals, and there's definitely, you're right about that. Steve, thanks as always, and just remember your last one, standing pick. Yeah. I can't believe that you got rid of Spurs. No wonder Paul was on.
It was, and it paid off. But let's see, round 3.
Round 3.
This is dangerous time for me.
Dangerous territory for you. All right, Steve. Thanks as always. Speak over the weekend.
Cheers, Steve.
Cheers.
UK Bye. Correspondent Stevie Braham. Gav, MTN8. I watched both games last night.
But I've been down with a little bit of flu, so I never watched any TV soccer last night. But the results are Pirates and both good teams, tough games. I don't know what the score was. It was 1-1 draw.
It was 1-1 with Pirates. Yeah, first so they got on top, but I must say Cape Town City. I've always liked Eric Tinkler as a manager. His team gives their best, and the second half, once it got to 1-1, it could have gone either way. I was watching like a mug on Tuesday. I didn't realise that they postponed it because of the weather.
The weather was horrific down there.
Horrific,
snowing in the morning and everything.
So Pirates, you just never know what they're going to happen. I think it's going to be a close game. And Sundowns Stellenbosch, you know, speaking to the guys in the studio, they got a penalty, Stellenbosch. They had a solid claim, in my opinion, for another one. But the best player was Stellenbosch's keeper. But 2 good games. And hopefully they're nice and tight. We don't get the referees to decide it. On to our soccer exotics for the weekend. So we've just put the betting up now. You know, Pirates are 5-10. You know, likewise, I think there'll be goals. I saw 12-10, both teams to score in both games. So I just hope the weather in Stellenbosch is decent. But, you know, Sundowns backs to the wall. We know how they operate.
Well, they're the top teams in South Africa now. Pirates and Sundowns, obviously everyone looks for them to be into a finals to get the crowd going. But tough games, both Cape Town teams can play.
Let's just hope. I'd love it to be a Pirates Stellenbosch final, but you never know. Just hope Steve can upset Sundowns, but wouldn't surprise me if it's Orlando Pirates versus Sundowns. On to our soccer exotics for Saturday, and we start off with our soccer 6. And I'm banking Arsenal to beat Brighton. Going with Middlesbrough win and draw at Cardiff City. The field in the Coventry City versus Norwich City game. Chancing Burnley to win the Lancashire Derby against Blackburn Rovers. Siding with Stoke City to avoid defeat at Plymouth Argyle. And I'm going the field in the Portsmouth versus Sunderland fixture, 2-1-6. On to our second soccer 6 for the weekend. And I've thrown the draw in. Orlando Pirates in the second leg at home against Cape Town City. I'm banking Brentford to beat Southampton. Everton win and draw at home against Bournemouth. The field looking for the upset in the Ipswich Town versus Fulham match. Going with Aston Villa to be too strong for Leicester City. In the field in the Notts Forest Wolverhampton Wanderers clash, 2-1-6. On to the soccer 10. I'm going Orlando Pirates win and draw against Cape Town City. Banking Brentford to beat Southampton. Everton to avoid defeat at home against Bournemouth. The field in the Ipswich Town Fulham game. Leicester City, Aston Villa. I'm going with Aston Villa. Onto the second page, I'm going the field in the Nottingham Forest versus Wolves clash. West Ham United, Man City. I have to bank Pep Guardiola's Man City. Into Germany, I'm banking champions Bayer Leverkusen to beat RB Leipzig. Going with Bologna. Win and draw at home against Empoli and Atletico Madrid. Win and draw at Athletic Bilbao, 288 Rand. On to the soccer 13 for Saturday, and I'm going Man City to beat West Ham United. Everton win and draw at home against Bournemouth. Brentford to be too good for Southampton. Looking for the upset, going Ipswich Town. Win and draw against Fulham. Banking Aston Villa to beat Leicester City. Wolves in an upset to avoid defeat at Notts Forest. Going with Bristol City. Win and draw away at Derby County. On to the second page, I'm banking Millwall to beat Sheffield Wednesday. Leeds United to beat Hull City. Preston North End win and draw at Oxford United. Stoke City win and draw at Plymouth Argyle. And Sunderland win and draw at Portsmouth. And ending up with West Brom to beat Swansea City, 256 Rand. On to our budgies bets for the weekend. And I'm going Arsenal to score in both halves against Brighton. Over 2.5 goals, both teams to score yes. In the Ipswich, Fulham and Newcastle, Tottenham Hotspur games, and Aston Villa to beat Leicester City, and over 2.5 total goals, 2,900 to 200. My team goal sides, I'm going Arsenal, Brentford, Ipswich Town and Aston Villa, all to score over 1.5 goals, 2,000 to 200. On to the Championship. I'm going for Burnley to beat Blackburn Rovers and both teams to score yes. West Brom to be too good at home for Swansea City and over 2.5 total goals in the Sheffield United Watford match, 2,700 to 200. My both teams to score sides are Coventry City, Norwich City, Leeds United Hull City, Millwall Sheffield Wednesday and Portsmouth Sunderland. 2,200 to 200. On to Spain, and there are midweek games, so the odds may vary. I'm going Alaves to be too good at home for Las Palmas, and over 2.5 goals in Athletic Bilbao, Atletico Madrid, Valencia, Villarreal, and Real Madrid, Real Betis fixtures, 2,800 to 200. And our Collis King, 6 on Exa. I'm going Arsenal to beat Brighton, Brentford to beat Southampton, Aston Villa to beat Leicester, Burnley to beat Blackburn, West Brom to beat Swansea, and Barcelona to beat Real Valladolid. 3,600 to 200. Gav?
I think I could be on that bet, budget.
Yeah.
6 on X. That looks like a nice one for this weekend.
Yeah, some good odds.
I'm going for 2 away teams this week. I'm going to go with Fulham again. I think they're a good bet at 12 to 10, and I'm going to go with Spurs. My gut's telling me Spurs will get a result.
Yeah, my 2 teams this weekend, I'm going Aston Villa 8 to 10 away from home, and West Brom 9 to 10 away from home. Works out around about 27 to 10. To all the guys in the last one standing, please remember, guys, 12:30 Saturday is closing time. Everybody else, please remember to stay on side.